Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Akhmad Zaini and today I will tell you about my 6 summarized article in extensive reading. Okay, for the first article is about Islamic article. In article Why Islam website, write by the collector of fact of Islam, entitled The Messiah of Islam, that in Islam, Jesus is one of the greatest prophet and messenger of God, along with Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Muhammad, peace be upon them all. He delivered God's message to the children of Israel that they should only worship one God, follow God's law, and establish justice. The Quran also refers to Jesus as the Messiah. Muslims believe that Jesus was never actually crucified, but rather he was saved by the God. Therefore, Jesus did not die, but was raised to the heavens. So the details of the Antichrist are found in the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Antichrist is an individual who will appear during the age of injustice, preceding the end of the world, causing corruption and oppression to sweep over the earth for the period 40 days or 40 years. His appearances is one of the major signs of the death or the day of judgment. He will deceive many people with false miracles and teachings. He will first claim to be Jesus, then will later declare himself to be God. He will travel the world requesting people to follow him and will tempt them with food, riches, and promises to end their suffering. He will be given the ability to perform miracles by God as a test to humans. He will rise the dead. He will chop people into halves. He will have the ability to bring out the earth riches, have plenty of food and sustenance to tempt people to follow him. A clear sign that he is not actually God is that despite all these miracles which will be given to him, he will not be able to fix his own bodily deformities. He will send his army to fight anyone who does not believe in him. So each of these Messiah is the opposite of the other. Jesus, peace be upon him, is truthful and has miracles from God. So the false Messiah is a liar who misguides people. So finally, Jesus, the true Messiah, will descend from heaven and arrive near Damascus, Syria, with his arm resting on 2 angels by his sides. He will then travel to Jerusalem and join in the morning prayer. At the time, the Antichrist will have reached the outskirts of Jerusalem. When he is informed that Jesus, peace be upon him, returned to earth, he will try to flee. Okay, for the second article is about education. Eduator says in his article, 8 important reasons for teaching kindness in school. In education article website that the most people have heard that the phrase random act of kindness, which refers to selfless act of giving resulting in the happiness of another person. So scientific studies have shown that kindness has a great number of physical and emotional benefits, and the children require a healthy dose of the warmth and fudges to flourish as healthy, happy, well-rounded individuals. So there are 8 of benefits have been reported to support the theory of teaching kindness in school. First, happy children mean the good feelings we experience when being kind are produced by endorphin, that active area of the brain that are associated with pleasure, social connection, trust, and it's proven that these feelings of joyfulness are contagious, encouraging more kind behavior by the giver and recipients. The second, increased fear acceptance, means that research on the subject has determined that kindness increases our ability to form meaningful connection with others. Third, improve health and less stress, means that it's widely documented that being kind can trigger a release of the hormone oxytocin, which has several physical and mental health benefits, as it can significantly increase a person's level of happiness and reduce stress. Fourth, a greater sense of belonging and improve self-esteem. It means that studies show that people experience a helper high when they do good deed, a rush endorphin that create a lasting sense of pride, well-being, and enrich sense of belonging. Fifth, encourage feeling of gratitude means that when children are part of projects that help others less fortunate than themselves, it provides them with a real sense of perspective and help them appreciate the good things in their own lives. 6. Better concentration and improve results means that it can increase serotonin, which plays an important part in learning, memory, mood, sleep, health, digestion, and kindness is a key ingredient that helps children feel good. 7. Less bullying. So Cynthia Clark and Barbara Marinac argue adolescent bullying and youth violence can be confronted in high school programs that integrate kindness, the antithesis of victimization. 8. Reduce depression. Dr. Wayne Dyer has discovered that an act of kindness increases the level of serotonin in brain. It's also found that serotonin levels are increased in both the giver and receiver of an act of kindness, as well as anyone who witnesses that kindness, making it a wonderful natural antidepressant. Okay, for the third article is about language and language teaching and learning. Thomas More says in his article, 8 language learning tips for the studying abroad in Omniglot Language Learning Foundation website, that traveling across the world to get an education is now a regular thing to do. Many students look for the opportunity to get a study abroad experiences. So there are 8 learning tips for studying abroad. First, ask for academic help if studying gets too hard from the very first day. Give yourself some time to adapt, and luckily there are online essay writing companies that can help you manage the workload. Second, be ready for trouble. Before you board the plane, make sure you understand that learning in a foreign language differs from learning in your native one. This simple realization will save you lots of nerve cells. Third, create a foreign language environment. Immerse in the new language and try to enjoy the environment. It will be hard at the first, but later you'll grow to see yourself handling the situation. Fourth, read, read, and read. Do not stop reading. It is wrong to assume that learning materials are enough for you to master the language. You must continue reading fiction, novels, short story, as well as newspaper and website to learn the live language. Fifth, take notes everywhere. Whether you are sitting in the cafe or watching a movie, you'll never know where you'll use those, but this is definitely helpful for your language skills. 6. Practice writing. For those having trouble with a foreign language, a good idea is to start writing on a daily basis. Start with something simple and then move on to more complex sentences. 7. Engage in volunteering, charity events, and other. In the recipient city are the best helpers in learning the language. Do not be lazy to make the most of this experience. 8. Embrace the differences and the difficulties. Yes, we are different from those who speak the language natively. It may get tough sometimes when the pile of academic grows. However, it is important to go forward and work hard. Okay, for the fourth article is about professional abstract. Lingga Agustina Suganda says in her abstract journal, Teaching Reading for Young Learners in EFL Context, on Journal of English Literacy Education, that language learning is very attractive to young children. In learning English, learning to read is part of it. Good teachers realize that there is no one best teaching reading approach because each child is different in their approach. In this paper, the author writes 3 important points for children reading success, namely, number 1, innovative and suitable approach, number 2, effective material, and number 3, parents or teachers rule. Okay, for the 5th article, professional journal. Dr. Effendi Goltum, MA, published his journal article entitled Assessment and Evaluation in EFL Teaching and Learning on Journal Proceeding of ISL FBS University Padang. The study aims that English teachers should be able to assess and evaluate their student learning achievements. To do an assessment, a teacher should consider many aspects in determining the final scores of the student. In addition to the mid-semester and the final semester scores, the teacher should also pay attention to the student participation, motivation, presentation, performance, presence, homework, etc. So, test is a method of measuring a person's ability, knowledge, or performance in a given domain. Illuminative evaluation seeks to find out how different aspects of the program work. The writer suggests that teachers interview learners regularly to find out how they interpret what is going on in the course. This research designed qualitative a study in which researchers using some of code from both Brown, Ware, and Robert Harris, etc. The competence can be grouped into three domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain assessment can be performed through daily tests, mid-tests, and final tests. In the final score is based on the percentage of the assessment. The students who have not reached the mastery level are given remedial teaching, and those who have reached the mastery level are given enrichment teaching. For the last article is about short story article. Gina Brown wrote a short story entitled The Stone Boy, published in Mademoiselle in 1957 on Academia Edu website. The story about 9 years old who accidentally killed his older brother as they are on their way to the garden to pick a peas. The fact of the accident killing of Yuji, however, is not the major question posed by the character in this story. Rather, the question involved why Arnold, after having accidentally killed his brother, does not return home immediately to call for help from his parents, but instead spend an hour in the garden picking peas. Arnold's father and mother, with his uncle and auntie, are unable to understand what kept Arnold in the garden while his brother lay dead. Arnold himself has no answer. All they can say that purpose of this trip to the garden in the first place was to pick a peas, and the peas had to be picked while it was still cool before the sun came up. The conclusion that shooting was indeed an accident, there was no malice intended, and Arnold is either dim-witted or completely rational but unfeeling like many criminals. Under the circumstances, Arnold's father can think of nothing to do but take the gun away from the boy. Uncle Andy accepts the sheriff's explanation to the extent of making ironic and mean comment about Arnold's behavior to the farm people, who call on the Corwins to express their sympathy. Arnold's mother can hardly bear to look at her son, and his sister Nora ignores his presence. If the sheriff is correct in his explanation of Arnold's behavior, then Arnold is indeed a stone boy, unable to whip a tragic accident, uncaring, and perhaps even cruel. On the other hand, one could argue that the boy is only 9, that is remaining in the garden to pick a peas was the result of trauma brought on by a sense of responsibility for the death of brother, who was his favorite companion. In this instance, a reader could question the motivation of the parents, relatives, and friends who offer Arnold no solace or comfort in a time of intense need. Perhaps the author is demonstrating that stone parents create stone boys. The motivation of the character must be found in the detail of the story, because the point of view General Brawl restrict a reader to read Arnold's consequences, and Arnold does not know why he behaved as he does. Moreover, since the plot is epiphanic, beginning in the medias res without exposition and concluding without resolution, the author provides no explanation. In addition, the epiphanic ending of the story is even more puzzling than the unanswered question concerning motivation. At the end of the story, Arnold's mother attempts to make some human contact with her son, but Arnold rejects her. "What do you want?" she asked humbly. "I want nothing," he said flatly. Then he went out of the door and down the back step, his legs trembling from the fright his answer gave him. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.